Well, did you push state like I asked you?
I hate to be the one to break this to you, Rust, but your boys are pathetically underprepared for adulthood.
Well, sure, Hank's a bit of a late bloomer, but did you catch Dean's little mustache really starting to come in?
Yeah, regardless of the stash, neither of them knows a thing about the real world.
What are you talking about? Those kids have been around the globe more times than Gate and Dugas.
But the stuff those beds have been teaching them is more dated than fucking Wagnalls. I mean, what college do you think is gonna keep transcripts from a talking bed anyway? Especially since, if I'm even reading them right, Hank didn't graduate. Hank!
Hi! Welcome to Venture Bros, Venture Brothers Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Graham, Sue, Storm, Mason.
Hello. I have something to do with storms.
You don't know who Sue Storm is? Seriously?
Graham, you don't know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
You don't know who Sue Storm is either.
Oh.
What the hell's wrong with you people?
Hey, Graham, just play along. Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
No, I don't.
Same thing that happens to everything else.
Okay, Sue Storm, the wife of Mr. Fantastic.
Never heard of him.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I'm gonna lose my fucking mind over here. She's one of the Fantastic Four. This is like one of the oldest characters ever. Like, come the fuck
Wait,
on.
was it 4? I thought it was 5.
Oh my god.
Are you sure? You're sure it's 4?
Yep.
Yeah, Spider-Man was definitely in it for sure.
Yeah, he had to have been.
I hate you all so much.
Yeah, I watched like an animated show all about like him.
And that voice right there is Mr. Nick. I'm a fucking asshole Friedemann.
What
Poo-poo.
character is that?
He's from Dark Horse. Don't worry about it.
It does seem like a Dark Horse character.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe a Vertigo character? That's a comic book chain, right?
Oh my god.
At this point, it's just fun.
I'm in agony.
I found a way to turn this table, and it's much more fun.
It's so much more fun to pretend that I don't know what Brian's talking about.
This is the most painful thing in my life. Let's talk about Venture Brothers, which is not the most painful thing in my life.
Adventure Boys. All right.
Oh, okay. That one I know you're fucking lying about. So this week we are talking. We're finally into what I consider one of the best seasons out there. I love the back half of season 4. As soon as we get past that first episode, and now we're in it, and we're talking Pomp and Circuitry today, and I love this episode. I hope you guys do as well. I think it's my turn to do a quick breakdown, right? Right?
I think so.
I think so.
I did too many last week.
Well, no, you did the right amount because you're a goddamn liar. We don't need to get into this again.
I didn't lie.
Lying by omission is still lying. Have you ever watched Arrow? I'm guessing no, because you don't know who fucking any comic book characters are, but lying is a big part of that show.
Is that
Arrow's the
Marvel
one that,
again?
Yeah. He's the one who runs really fast, right?
Yep, that's him. Way to go.
Yeah,
So
the one with the ring, right? He's got the ring.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
He's got a little arrow emblem on the ring.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate my life. I hate it.
It's going better than I thought it would.
This is what it sounds like when Brian is tortured. One morning, Hank and Dean are surprised to find that they have officially graduated from the learning beds, which is really exciting. Except Hank didn't get his diploma, so they assume he didn't do it. Which we'll get into that in a moment. Rusty then takes Dean to the university to see the campus that he thinks he'll be going to because his dad paid for him to be there, so obviously that would just carry over to his son. Nope, doesn't work that way. Elsewhere, we have, is this when Phantom Limb comes into it, right? Yes. Phantom Limb and Professor Impossible are getting into the villain game. Professor Impossible comes up with many terrible names that he doesn't actually stick with. And then what else we have? Hank tries to join Sphinx. It doesn't go very well because he's too young. Otherwise, it appears that he'd be like the best agent they've ever had. Again, we'll get into that later because that's really exciting. And then at the end of the episode, we find out that Hank did graduate and just that the paper jammed in the printer, so he's graduated. He's good to go. And that's pretty much everything that happens in the episode, right? I'm really just kind of sprinting through it because I just want to talk about the episode itself.
Yeah, more or less.
I kind of hit the bullet points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cool. So let's start with Hank. I really just want to dive right into that because I watched this with my wife Chewy, and she's just like, "Why does nobody take Hank seriously?" And I think that's kind of where I want to start with this.
Oh, okay. I mean, for a lot of reasons, kind of, but also, like...
He's a goof?
Yeah, leaving
Yes.
out the fact that Hank is very Hank.
Yes.
He crushes everything they throw at him.
This is true. And, I mean, like he says, I mean, he has definitely been training with Brok, like, his whole life. So, he would be and is a pretty dang good spy-ish person. Not really a spy.
I think is a strong word for Hank, but he's capable. He's more capable than I think anyone was prepared to give him credit for.
He is a capable agent, I'll say that, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what is stuck with me, especially after Chewie pointed it out. It's like, I agree. I would never take him seriously as an agent, but he deserves some credit. Like, he did well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that it's just, some people, I feel like Hank is one of those people, leave like a weird first impression. You know what I mean?
You could say that.
Yeah. And I think that it's
Sure.
like once you kind of like spend time with Hank, you're like, oh, like I said this early on in this podcast, not this podcast, but earlier on in like earlier episodes of said podcast.
Explain more. I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, hold on. A podcast is
like, you said this 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Like in this episode, right?
In a future episode.
Oh, okay. I'm on board.
Right.
Go for it.
So you're about to say it.
I'm about to say it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But just prepare
Today.
us now and say it again.
Okay. So I thought that I still think Hank is a good businessman, and both of you laughed at me. And I still think that Hank is a good
I
businessman.
never laughed at you for that. I think he's a great businessman.
Especially when
Yeah.
3 episodes from now, he's
Yes.
a very good businessman.
But I think that it's like he gives off that weird first impression where you discount him, and it then somehow fuels Hank to prove you wrong. It's a weird cycle, I think.
The thing with Hank in this one is that he really shows up to play. Like, it's not like this is like his number one time of like, no, I'm going to prove to you that I'm not that joke, that I'm not that guy who like just gives a bad impression and like then maybe he'll grow on you. Like, it's just like, no, I'm here and I'm capable and I'm ready to work. And they're still just like, yeah, you're kind of proving yourself right every step of the way, but we still just don't want you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely true.
And even Brok does that at the end of the episode. He's like, well, you have to have a high school diploma. Oh, I graduated. Here's my high school diploma. Did I mention you have to be 18? Ah, dang it. Because I think Brok knows that he's kind of one of those guys. Hank is kind of one of those guys who knows enough to get himself into trouble. And I don't even know if he knows enough to get himself into trouble, but he's kind of like clever enough or like smart dumb enough to get himself into situations in which he can't possibly get himself out of. Like at the wedding. Like when he's the only one outside of the cage. He's like, I'm going to save us all.
Yeah.
You're like, no. Don't, just stand there. Literally don't do anything.
Very true.
I agree with their reasoning of don't do anything because you'll hank it up. And like,
Yes.
But at the same time, like watching this episode, I'm like, but he does kind of like, I mean, it is kind of the theme of Venture Brothers if he fails his way to success, but he doesn't fail his way to success. Like he just succeeds and it's kind of impressive. But at the same time, like I can't discount the voice in the back of my head of like, he was just lucky.
Yeah, which is actually kind of interesting when we talk about from here and like what we've said of like basically this whole show, we really need to get to this point before Hank and Dean really kind of grasp who they are before they actually shift, and now they're starting to shift into their new phase. And so from here on until the end of season 7, we're kind of seeing Hank be this new kind of person. He does kind of have this holding pattern where he is now, but when we get to season 7, he has this kind of odd Hankian success where it's like you just said, it's like he's not failing all the time. He just has this weird, he has a Hank way of succeeding at all of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, because I'd always argue the Monarch is the chief fail to success guy. Like he is the best at that. Like, and Hank I think is a little bit different, but But it is still kind of like, it's fun seeing, like, especially like what you're just talking about, like the change happen. And like this episode really is the kickoff of like the boys' journey from here on out is going to be different than everything you've seen before.
Yeah.
But talking about that a little bit, let's talk a little bit Rusty and Dean on their their adventure to college.
Oh my god. So you said your overall review was that you love this episode. And I really, really, really like this episode, but this portion of it is kind of my least favorite and most boring part of this. It has its moments, but I'd really rather watch the rest of this episode.
I agree a little bit, but I think there's something about confident Rusty that I love so much that I just can't get enough of it. Like, so having Rusty show up to the college that he went to, was kicked out of for blowing up the science lab, and then got an honorary degree from a Tijuana college, like, and just that pure, just pompous son of a bitch attitude where he just shows up, he's like, my dad gave so much money to this school, so you're gonna let my son in. And he built the whole science lab that I allegedly blew up, but either way, let my son in. We didn't fill out an application because we don't have to. Like, I can watch that version of Rusty pretty much all day.
I mean, he's really trying to be a good dad.
No, he's not, though. He's not trying at all.
No.
He's just doing what he thinks a good dad would do. He's putting zero effort in. He didn't even have Dean fill out a damn college application. He just showed up and assumed they'd take him.
Well, yeah, but that's just Rusty. I mean, he wouldn't fill out an application for anything.
True.
That's very true. He would try and throw his weight around, which is non-existent weight, and it's just a weird moment. Also, my favorite thing about that scene is the fact that the scene starts off with the guy going, no, it's not my name, but, it is a funny coincidence. And I was like, what is he talking about? And it's Dean, because he's the college dean.
And he's like, no, but I can see your confusion. And immediately Rusty goes in, look, my son is a genius.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So, like, where I agree with you, it's the weakest storyline in the show, but it's in the episode, but it still really entertains me, and especially just for the payoff at the end when Phantom Limb and Impossible blow up the science lab, and he had just gotten done screaming allegedly when they said they blew it up, and it explodes. He's like, I didn't blow it up this time.
Yeah.
I also think that it sets up kind of like Dean's arc in a really interesting way for this season and then going forward, is that he's realizing kind of like the problem of his dad's attitude, and that like a super scientist doesn't really make any sense unless you're actually making things, which his dad doesn't do. Yeah, exactly. And it's and he's given him zero skills to do any of it. Like, exactly.
Zero preparation other than shrinky dinks.
Yeah, and I think that's he had his own science lab in the panic room that
with more shrinky dinks, and he thought he created a monster, which he had nothing to do. He just put his own hair in a petri dish and they put it in the oven.
Oh, Dean. But he was listening to prog rock. It was great.
It was. The trip he had was very successful, but other than that, not much.
Yeah. Man. Poor Dean. But I do love that moment in the beginning of the episode with Billy, and he's like, these boys are so grossly unprepared for the real world. Like, you have just destroyed them. And I do like the moments where people try to talk some sense into Rusty, and just the way they animate him is just so perfect. If you just see it going in one ear and out the other, as if the person had never even spoken to him. Like, they do such a good job in this episode. Like, I think that's why I like Rusty in it. They do such a good job showing just like, if you're not saying what he wants to hear, he doesn't hear you.
Yeah.
And it's everything from like Billy telling the boys are just, they're morons. They are the stupidest children in the world, and it's your fault for shoving them into these so-called science learning beds where you just taped over your name and put their names in there. So they have no life skills whatsoever, and he just ignores, like, I'm just going to send him to college. He'll learn it then. It's like, Rusty, you are the worst. Other than Pete White.
That's true.
Yep.
We'll get to him.
And they're
next
best
week.
friends.
Yeah.
And I think both of them, on their top 5 things of what they want to be, they both put American Gladiators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Dean took it off. So he only had a top 4.
Yeah, and then Hank put 2 different versions of Batman on there, which I can't argue with him. They are very different Batman. Like, he is right about that.
Yep. Did you see what else was on Dean's list? I only saw one, but
No,
it was worth it.
I should have screen capped it. What was the one that you saw?
Husband.
Oh, that hits you right in the gut.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
Not good.
I just remembered the Masters version of Dean as a husband.
Yes.
So good. Just with a pot belly and a vacuum.
I mean, that's exactly what I expect of him.
Yeah. Oh, that's the cry of our son. I mean, I guess you can call him a son. He's got an arm where his head should be, but, he's ours.
Oh, Dean. Whew. Well, if we've talked about the Ventures, I think there's only one last thing to talk about, and this is the wonderful triumphant return of the one Phantom Limb. We've seen him since he's gone on his journey into madness, but this is when he finally dons a suit again. He gets his arms back. Phantom Limb is back, and I am so excited about it.
Oh, man. I mean, we jump right into it, and Phantom Limb's escape is just awesome. And
it's insane.
We first think of oh man, he's really, really lost it. And then it took me a second viewing of a second viewing of it this time to actually see that his jumpsuit is actually tied up at the arms.
Yeah.
Wait, are his arms actually missing? And then, which leads to the rest of the episode, and you're like, oh wait, maybe he's not actually super crazy. He's pretty crazy, but maybe he's not super crazy. And he has full control over his limbs, which are in a drawer down the hallway.
It took me so long to figure out what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it before, like Lady Nightshade and everything. It's like, how the fuck does he do this? And just a quick side note, I don't want to ruin somebody's quote, but just the conjugal visit line about the shoe was so fucking good. Because that basically just means they just caught him masturbating with his invisible arm.
Which I guess then afterwards he had removed his arm.
Yeah. I'm done with this now. But that's the whole breakout scene is just awesome, and it makes no sense until you see him put his arms back on, and then it just makes Venture Brothers sense, which is still no sense, but it's the type of no sense that I like. But
it does make you kind of question where his other arm and other leg are. But
yeah.
Well, one is with the alchemist. We know that.
Yeah.
I don't know about the leg.
Right. I think it's a leg.
Yeah, the other one I don't know. It's just gone. But the thing that I really like about it is I like seeing him in his craziness sort of claw his way back to sanity. Like, he just wanted to be reformed, and he wants to be a villain again. Like, he just wants to do his job again because he's so good at it. And I like that he goes to Impossible for it. Now, this is unfortunately when Impossible was no longer this is the short period of time when it's not Stephen Colbert.
Which is so sad. I mean, every time I hear him, I'm like, but it could have been better.
Yeah, and apparently it all just came down to miscommunication, which is really unfortunate. Because he does come back in later seasons, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think the guy who fills in for him does a bad job. It's just not Colbert.
Right. I don't think he does a bad job. Yeah, he just doesn't do a great job.
Yeah, he's just not Colbert. Like, Colbert is just so good for that character. It's just unfortunate that this short period of time we don't have him. But the character itself, I really like it. I like that it's just like he's so distraught because his wife left him with their child, and it's like he had no idea what he wanted or what he had, and I like that fall from like, I'm the most impressive man in the world to I'm just stretchy and no one loves me. And it's just because he's so low, it's just the slightest push to becoming evil, and it works like a charm, and I love it.
Yeah. And I love how we introduce him in this episode, where it's just like he's literally a tangle in this room. And of course, like Brok pointed out, just with jars of urine strewn about his office.
Oh yeah, he's gone completely insane. It's pretty gross.
Insanity loves company, though, and Phantom Limb knows that.
Yeah,
that's true. Also, do you know, I just looked it up because I was like, I'm curious. I thought that it was either Jackson Public or Doc Hammer that did the voice, but no, it's Bill Hader.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's just Bill Hader essentially doing a Stephen Colbert impression.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That explains
Yeah.
why they're not bad, because Bill Hader's great. It's just he's doing somebody else's character.
Yeah.
Right, which is always tough. You have big
Yeah.
shoes to fill. Big
Oh,
stretchy
especially-
That would
shoes.
be odd.
Especially with Colbert. Like, that's not like some like schmuck who's just filling in. Like, that's a great guy, and then trying to that's tough to do. I think he did a good job.
Yeah. But I think, he would have done a great job as well if he were to have his own version of Dr. Impossible. But
Yeah,
since
for
he's
sure.
mimicking somebody, it's like, oh, well, all right.
Yeah, if he was doing his own thing, I think it would have been great. But it's just unfortunately that it worked out this way. And I say unfortunately very, very mildly, because I still enjoy the character. It doesn't take me out of the episode. It doesn't upset me. I still love the episode, and I still love the character. It's just it's that thing where it's just like, but I notice it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Beyond that, like I love the just the moment where I always forget the name of the actual villain, but the guy with the diamond on his head, when he shows up to work, and it's really just that he's showing up to try to just pick up Professor Impossible's spirits. Like, he's showing up like, I'm a bad guy. Come on.
You can hold up here for months.
Yeah. Like,
Give me a punch or something, guy.
it's kind of sweet in a way. It's just like, come on. I know your wife left you. It's sad, but let's do this. Fisticuffs. Come on. What the hell is Phantom Limb doing here? And it's just like, oh shit.
I'm telling the guild. Oh no. And I love all of his henchmen too. The protons. The proteins.
Oh, yeah.
Proteins.
Oh, they're
They
so
look like
useless.
The most useless henchmen. They just stand there and just watch their master just fly by. Like,
They're standing on another rooftop. What were they even doing? I was so confused. I was like, wait a second.
That's the closest,
Wait.
highest rooftop, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
but
That's the
I
best
love
that
the
they could
name.
do. Proteins.
The name is so good. Just proteins. I love it.
Come on, proteins. They're just there to support, which they actually do make another show up in the next episode. So there's that.
Actually, it's great that we're recording these two episodes together. Not that you'll be able to listen to them together because they come out week to week. But these episodes really do speak to each other a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that kind of go like floating back and forth between the two of them, which is really cool.
For sure.
Like, they're definitely not like sequels or anything to each other, but it is kind of like it's those rare moments where it's not Monster of the Week. There's kind of a fluidity to the two episodes for this week and next.
Yeah, which actually kind of sets up a thing, like a repeating thing, because like they'd kind of do like a Hank and Dean episode like back to back. Now they kind of do that hopscotch throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, because after next week is everybody comes to Hank, and then it's Dean's internship. I don't remember the name of that episode, but that episode is just
Bright Lights, Dean City.
that. If you want to hate Rusty, tune in 3 weeks. You
Eey.
find out Rusty is the world's worst roommate.
And still worst dad. Well, second worst dad, as we've discussed before.
Yes. Nobody will ever beat Jonas in a dad off. What haven't we talked about in this episode? I feel like we've done a good job kind of hitting all the major points. We didn't really talk about hatred at all, but he's kind of barely there.
Yeah, he's barely there.
I did have a question. We jump into this episode with the Council of 13.
Right.
And they're talking about a movement to where they need to go from the Council of 13 and change their name to Council of 12 or whatever, find a new person. And then there's a a movement on the floor, which happens later. Who did that?
Oh,
We never answer that.
It was
Or do
Frank
they?
Reynolds.
Who? What?
It's Frank Reynolds. That's a joke for like 5 people. Someone out there is going, ha, 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 ha. He watches it all. It's sunny.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Definitely over my head.
Yeah, I was
have-
so confused.
I was like, wait, is that a character I missed? Oh my god.
Nope.
Yeah,
No,
I
sure
was
is.
like, oh, which one of the council is that?
It's always sunny joke, and it was a good one.
Says the other 4 people who might have gotten that, who may or may not listen to this podcast. But I hope they do for your sake.
Yeah, I hope there's some crossover. That was just really a waste of 30 seconds of people's time. But to answer your question, I have no clue.
Right? Because
I assume
I
Phantom
literally
Limb?
drop that deuce and then just leave it there.
I have to
I
assume
guess
Phantom
so.
Limb.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed, but I don't know how it happened. But then I didn't understand most of what he was doing anyway. So I was like, okay.
Maybe it was just a distraction technique?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe he did that
I'm going to let...
as he was escaping or something?
I'm going to let Hammer and Doc Hammer and Jackson Public off the hook on this one and go, they said movement earlier and they wanted to make a poop joke. They can make their poop joke.
Which is totally fine. And as soon as they said it the first time, it was like, oh, there's got to be a poop in this show. Yeah. There's got to be a poop that's going to happen in the council room.
And then there's another poop joke later. There's a few poop jokes in this episode. I'm not above poop humor. It's funny. Poop is funny. Watch the episode Who Pooped the Bed If It's Always Sunny. It's really funny. I keep rhyming. But
that was just my question. That was the thing.
And that was our answer.
Good. Thank you, I guess.
We don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really want to talk about. Is this the first time? I know in Brock's notes he says this is one of the first times we see Dr. Z as a councilman, but
Oh, yeah, I think that's definitely
Is that true? I didn't remember, because I always remember him as a councilman, so I always kind of forget if this is the first time we see that or not.
I think so. Because I think beforehand he wasn't. He was kind of, I wouldn't say on the outs, but like retired, quote unquote. Because I think the councilmen are like semi-retired. So I think that he got brought into the fold. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just kind of never really thought about it, because I always think of him as a council member, because I've just gotten so into like the later seasons as I've rewatched the first ones too many times.
Right.
So I always just have him into my head as a council member. So the idea of him not being there from the beginning just kind of like it bumps against my head a little bit.
I wonder what Roboy thinks of that.
Yeah.
Roboy, what are you doing? I'm trying to turn him on.
He doesn't have one of these?
Oh god, what a mixed bag of an episode that was. So I'm looking at my notes. I'm out of stuff. What do you have?
This is the first time we see the investors.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure why they're there, but
they're
there.
So that was another thing too. Is I was wondering, just as we've talked about before, State University. What an incredible university for all of the superheroes, supervillains,
That's true.
Scientists and everything. And so Jonas Venture gave money to it. I think Jonas Jr. gives money to it at some point. And GCI. And so it's just so crazy how all of these people are funding this state university.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a terrible school to go to, though. Like, I would never want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, it creates and funds a lot of terrible, terrible people.
Yeah, and, it explodes a lot.
At least twice in reference to this episode.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. No thanks.
You don't want to hang out with Pete White?
Never.
What was his radio show called? White Noise or something? The White Hour?
White Noise sounds right, but that's also the name of one of the
villains.
Oh,
yeah, no. That's one of the villains.
Yeah. He was also in Doom Patrol somehow. Go figure that one. I know it's not him, but there are two references to Venture Brothers and Doom Patrol, and they might not be actually Venture Brother references, but they work, so I just enjoy the show that much more. Watch Doom Patrol. It's fucking kick-ass. I'm giving thumbs up to my microphone. That's how loopy I am right now. I'm out of my notes. Do you want to move into quotes, or is there something that we've missed?
Yeah, no quotes, because I think that we've hit all the major stuff. The only stuff I have are just like small things, like I missed short-haired Hank. That's it.
Yeah, it was nice seeing him back, and that really just felt like they were tired of animating his hair, which I'm fine with.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so we'll move into quotes, because I'd love to talk more about the investors, but since they're just there to be like...
Yeah, there's nothing to talk. I'd rather just... Yeah. I wanted to just mention it because it's interesting to see kind of like them being used as background bits and then slowly move into the foreground.
Yeah, for sure. So my quote comes from when they're trying to break into the... Not break in, but Professor Impossible shows up to give his speech, and he runs off to the bathroom first and lets... Of course, Phantom Limb out of him because he had stretched his body around him. And they're getting ready to leave. He's like, "Are you coming?" He's like, "I thought I had to poop, but it was just you in there." Like I said, I'm not above poop humor.
Which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're holding an entire person inside of you as a rubber person, I'm sure that would feel like constipation.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, what about you?
Mine is really simple, but I just love the look on the guy's face, which is the dean of admissions, who's just sitting there, and Rusty mentions he didn't fill out an application. He just cuts to him, and he's just like looking just like glassy-eyed. He's like, you didn't fill out an application? You have no application? It's so good. Just a look on his face, like one eye is half closed, and it's just like, oh God, like he just knows exactly what kind of shit show he's in for.
Well, I'm sure he knows who Rusty is, and the second he walked through the door, he's like, fuck, wrong Dr. Venture.
Yep.
Fuck.
Amazing.
Mine is another simple, small moment like that, where it's like just in this episode that's full packed of all of this other stuff, like just the simple humor of just, one-liner or just the perfect timing. Mine is after Hank finishes his super long speech to Sphinx, and then that Sphinx guy that stands up and just starts applauding by himself.
Oh my God.
And then just that perfect amount of pause, and Hunter picks up the phone and just chucks it at the back of his head.
All the way they animate Hunter, just the wind up and everything, it's just so good. Hunter is like the worst boss who I love so much.
He's incredible.
Oy. Okay, well, I think that's everything for today, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do the world's fastest round of plugs. Listen to After the Hype, listen to Demon Days, and listen to Samwise. And you can find all of those at athpod.com. Is there anything else that you guys have to plug right now?
No.
Perfect. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I just did it. I said goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, you said it.
I said goodbye.
Bye-bye.
No, I said goodbye.
Bad bye.